What's going on, guys? This is Anon. None of this is financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. We're going to go over some stocks and earnings and see what everyone wants to talk about tonight. Typically do these now every night on market nights so we can hang out, talk, and kind of review different things. We do some DD. What's up, Jerry? First again. You were undisputed first this time. All right. What's up, Drake? Yeah, bumpy day. A lot going on. All right. Gonna ride a bit and bump the system. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what's going on here. What's up, RT? What's up, Tom? Yeah, I mean, I guess, the way I look at it is this. They're trying hard to basically keep this MACD from crossing over. We'll see how long it can do. But obviously when you have, a whole bunch of things, like the market was just choppy today. What's up, Jason? What's up, Fish? Yeah, I saw the SEC commercial. That was, oh my God. Like everything you can do wrong, they're basically they're reinforcing why they're basically the most useless agency. Like, I don't even know how to fix that agency. You know what I would do? I would put out commissions. You bring in big money as a, if you can catch criminals, we'll pay you based off of how big of, a thing you've busted. That's how I would do it. I'd be like, give them a decent base, and then honestly, I would go ahead and just say, yeah, let's go ahead and you bust a $4 billion, naked shorting operation. Boom. You get a piece of that. What's up, Spooner? Weekend was good. Yeah, the SEC commercial was pretty bad. Tells me everything I need to know. What's up, Becca? Hello. All right, let's go see what's going on. I'm supposed to do my normal thing where I tweet and I do whatever I guess I'm supposed to do, right? I take this, copy, put it in Twitter, try to get eyes on Aterian and some other stocks. Maybe down the road someday we'll have a nice run on all of them. And the problem with owning a whole bunch of meme stocks together is like your bad days are really bad and your good days are really good. It makes you like bipolar. That commercial kind of helped meme stocks. They just don't get it. That video I checked had like 50,000 views and only 500 likes. Yeah. How many thumbs down probably too? I mean, that helps their engagement, but still. Oi. All right, let's do our normal things. So we'll do our tickers. We'll list out all the tickers. DTC. Almost done. There we go. BBBY live stream. Come talk about stocks. All right, there we go. They turned off the comments too. Yeah, they had to basically. They knew they were going to get killed from that. I think the commercial was because they know stuff is about to run, trying to scare away FOMO. I mean, the timing on it's kind of suspect. Like I said, people didn't believe me. If you go back to my old videos, people keep asking me, what do you think is going to happen with GameStop? And I told people, I don't have a popular opinion on this. My opinion was that GameStop and AMC have become too big now, that there's too much attention on them. So what they're going to probably have to do is like minimize, or at least like just allow the company to go up in value naturally. Like they're going to have to like all of a sudden write some decent articles on them and be like, yeah, this is probably a stock that's worth about $250 to $300. And then it will go up there, and like the shorts will close some of their positions, and it will just be a stock that's now $200 or $300. And then next thing you know, like AMC might be like 50 or 60, and they're able to do ATMs and grow from there. And like that's essentially what happened to Tesla. And maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm completely wrong on that, but I think at this point it's became a liability, and so whenever that happens, what typically happens is when there's too many eyes, then they don't want everyone to see it. So they go, well, let's, try to sweep it under the rug because then we can maintain status quo. So, all right. I put it out on Discord. Everyone should be here, but I don't know if that's crazy. Not sure people truly understand the power that comes with billions of dollars. Yeah, I mean, like, nobody outside of, like, retail wants this to happen because it basically, like, proves that the market's manipulated, and that, like, if this is manipulated, what else is manipulated? Meaning, like, Jeff Bezos could buy Aterian with pocket change. Yeah, he could. Like, the market cap's $200 million. There's a bunch of places there's a bunch of people that could literally just go out and be like, yeah, I'll just buy the entire thing. What's up, Overminding? Yeah, 120 million's back of the sofa money to Jeff. Yeah. Moon, please. Yes. Let's somehow get us to the moon, please. I mean, it's like I said, we can look at a bunch of different things. And like the one thing that I will say is this run right here came from nowhere. You got the MACD crossing over, and look over here. We were really doing hardly anything here. Like we crossed over there on the MACD, but we weren't moving up at all. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we just got volume. And it was some DD that, that was ridden over that weekend. They got some retail's attention. It can happen again. So, for us, it's just a waiting game. On the stochastic, they just crossed over. They're going to try to push it back down. They're trying to make sure that this MACD doesn't cross over on the daily. That's what they're doing now. It's touching. They're trying to push it down. We had a bad day on the market, and then, last minute rally. We go down with the market. We don't go up with the market typically. So, yeah. You want to cover GME earnings? I mean, it wasn't. It's a mixed. All right. Anyway, cover this 8K anon. 25% insider ownership. 9% to 34% ownership. Yeah, I think you guys started covering this inside the Discord. I've been with my family. I was putting my kids to bed, so I haven't had time to read through the 8K yet. So I don't want to give you guys any bunk information that I haven't actually read through. So, and when I first joined the Discord, I expected to use it for DD rarely and learn more about stocks. I've come to actually appreciate love the community we got going on. Hopefully, people still use it. The Discord honestly is going to be open forever. Like it's just going to be a thing now. I initially, when I first started, it was just supposed to be just Aterian, and then it kind of grew, and then we tried to give education for free. So what's up, Just Investor? What's up, Spooner? HG Trading? What's going on? What's up, SC? All right, so y'all stuck with me whether you like it or not. Evil laugh. What's up, that guy? Yeah, I mean it's fun, and obviously everyone's got their own good and bad days. I've had a couple bad days where I was getting frustrated. I kind of lashed out. I apologized to the guy that I had. I don't even remember who it was at this point right now, but I apologized to him. I said, listen, I've obviously been under a lot of stress. It's a lot to write DD all day long, research stuff, work a full-time job, have 2 kids at home, a wife that says I'm spending way too much time on this stuff. It was me. Joke. No, I don't think it was you, Edgar. But I told him, I said, listen, I'm frustrated, and I think you guys see every once in a while people can have bad days. The market's really rough that day. A lot of hindsight's 2020. I should have done this. I mean, there's a million things that you can go over in your head, and if you let that get to you, it will eat you alive. And so sometimes you just have to be like a duck in water and just let it roll off your back and just say, you know what, I can learn from this, and that's constantly how it works. Okay, we'll fill you in. In the simplest, the 8K is reduced voting power to 33.33 votes to pass any motions. Feels oddly convenient that it's 33 and not 40%, given that insider ownership plus 9% toot gives it 34%. Okay. So this would be for passing any motion. That would be interesting. Let's see what we got. I'm trying to pull it up right now. All right, so let's see what's going on here. All right. So a third quorum. No, 1/3 is the majority. What are your thoughts on that? So it's any... Yeah, I mean, you can learn a lot watching Aterian kind of in motion, because you get to see... You get to see what happens to small caps that, if they have something go wrong and they get targeted, they typically will end up in what's called death spiral financing. And that's when these other companies are basically trying to drive the price of the stock down to zero, and they basically take advantage of it. And it happens to a bunch of these. Most of the time when you look at some of these squeeze plays, these are people who are part of death spiral financing. And they typically, on average, before GameStop, they would just get run to the ground. And it's only been recently that these hedge funds are starting to actually deal with, retail who's being stubborn. Yeah, they can hide and they can control the price, but we're becoming kind of these thorns in their sides that, we're becoming more educated. They're getting more kind of annoyed by it. And so they're fine. They're like, all right, we'll wait these guys out. We're in the right. That's what they're thinking, a lot of times. Or they just know that they have more power than us as far as being able to control the stock price. That's why volume is the great equalizer, is because typically with, volume, it's hard to hide the sheer amount of stuff. When you have 150 million shares flying in, it's harder to control the price on 2 million shares traded, yeah, it's super hard to control the price. And so, obviously, like days like today, we have 3 million traded. It's really easy to control the price. Like you just hit the stock down a couple of key times, and then the market does the rest for you on a day like today. So, all right. So I was also curious about the FTDs they hit recently. What are your thoughts on that? Let's take a look. I didn't see the new FTD data. Did that come out already? What's today? The 1st? Did it come out today? I mean, it should have, right? Let's take a look. I did buy Ortex again just because I was sick and tired of not being able to look at it. It's a pain when you guys are all talking about stuff and I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. All right. FTD data. Yeah, they went down. All right, you guys remember the reason why the FTDs went away, right? And we got off Reg Show is basically they had market or the private placement shares hit the market, which allows them to basically reset all the FTDs. So like the fact that they were able to get those out got them basically out of like immediate pinch. They were able to drop the stock price with them, like because they all got lent out, is my guess. I mean, they went to a hedge fund that's gonna, if they're not, when they're sitting on them at like $3, they're like, okay, let's make some money on these right now. So they probably lent them out. So they're able to reset a bunch of FTDs with those. So for the third votes to be valid, the majority of it still needs the majority of shareholders. A third is the minority. Yeah, they hide FTDs every day. I mean, they probably, if we look through the options chains, I bet you we can find some probably, some of the, short interest in there too. Let's see, Berg, go back and read the D. They don't need a majority anymore. They just need 1/3 votes to pass the motion. It's bullish if they have plans to deal with these shorting. Okay. Okay. So, FTDs were 307K, 400. Okay, so they went from like 300, then 400K, and then down to pretty much none. Yeah, once again, it's all depending on the brokers. So a lot of these, like as soon as these guys got like access to these shares, they were able to basically reset their FTDs. So that's not that surprising. All it's going to take is another set of like institution buying in long. Or a couple, buying small positions, adding to them. It could take retail getting excited again about the stock if they see something that they like. Anything that brings volume back in is going to screw up basically this, because all that's going to happen is they're just going to go back on Reg Show just like AMC did. And I've showed you guys that before, like, that image that I took of like AMC's. Let me pull this up real quick. Yeah, so here. The green bars are, AMC Reg Show. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times before they squeezed up to 70. And I would anticipate something like this would happen with Aterian. As there's more interest, as there's more volume, we will go back and forth on and off of it until we eventually probably move up in a major way. Yeah, so you guys did want to, let me just make sure. So the FTDs still exist. We just can't see them now? No, I think he meant like they just went down. And a lot of them came from the private placement. I mean, there was like probably a couple million shares that hit there. My guess would be there was probably about 3 or 4 million FTDs at certain points. Now, they won't all hit at once. And so a lot of times what will happen is each broker will be short a certain amount. Like they might be short like 500,000 shares or like 1 million shares at some brokerages. But, they'll shift things around until they can get access to it, things to reset some of those. Because sometimes they just don't want to buy at that current stock price. So as the price came down, like say for example, like the peak of when like FTDs were doing it were up here. That's because a lot of brokers, because they didn't buy your shares down here and they were due by T+3, what they ended up doing was they were eating FTDs until the price came down. And so they may have reset them back around here or something like that. So you just have to remember, FTDs will mount up sometimes just because the broker doesn't want to actually buy your shares at the current time. Like they could, it would just make them probably lose money. So what they do is they wait and eat the FTD fees until the stock gets to a reasonable price that they will just buy them to reset the FTDs. So, and remember, because everything's T plus, you don't have this, there are no shares. Like they will always make shares even when there's not ones to make. Speaking of which, that kind of leads us to DTC, right? We're still kind of deep diving in that one, but that one looks like a mess to me. It really does look like there's a lot more shares out there than there should be. Kind of like when Aterian was going through this portion right here. The private placement, stuff kicking in. That's what kind of started this thing and allowed them to reset FTDs. And right now the stock price is much lower, so this is another accumulation phase before, we might have another pop. And so, the beautiful thing about this is the people who have lasted from here all the way down to here, they're not selling. And each day that goes by and they are able to afford more, they just keep adding to their positions. And so eventually this gets to a point where they can't, we just own the entire float flat out. So when does the 8K get voted on? I haven't read it yet, so I need to do that. Okay. And Fish said that he's got the options data from Bloomberg, so that's good. So we'll do that. If they keep ATER under 350 this week, I'll be very angry. Well, so will all the people that are buying 350s, because, obviously that's what they're aiming for, to keep the stock under 350, Keith. I'll just pull up this so people can see it. So the largest amount of inflow was these 350 strikes for this upcoming Friday. So if you look, there was quite a bit of volume on these right now. All right. So this is going to be their target. They're going to try to basically land the stock somewhere underneath right here, because that would be max pain. So what's a big? All right, doesn't get voted on. It's effective immediately per the 8K, Tom. Dividend information was being read wrong. Dividends aren't happening. Yeah, I from what I understood, at least just glancing at what people were talking about, it didn't sound like that was a thing. You can look at this too if you want. So this was the highest volume, was these 350 calls. It looks like... do we determine with these puts? Is it just this color because it's a put, or is it this color because they're sold puts? We don't know. All right. Do we have AMC's new FTDs? Yeah, we can pull it up real quick. Should we go to... Let's go to AMC real quick. All right, so I've got to do this the right way. AMC's was not that high. Looks like 298,000 was the 13th, and then the next highest one was on the 2nd. It was about 482,000, but their float's much bigger, so it wasn't like a huge amount of FTDs. Much higher in April. So, Greg, if you wanted to see that, I've got to screenshot it real quick because last time I put Fintel's information up, I think the video got flagged, so I will have to just screenshot this real quick for you guys, and that way you can see AMC's FTD data. All right, here you go. Oops. Here, we'll go over here. So as you see right here, and in mid-April it was much higher. It was like 1.099, 1.1, 1.3, but not a ton of FTDs. And FTDs honestly don't matter that much as far as like FTDs are just showing you what the brokers are having trouble like locating shares. Typically, like it's usually brokers that are the ones that are failing to deliver, because if retail is the ones that are interested, that's who they're who's buying these shares, and they're not delivering them, or it's shorts trying to short and they can't locate shares afterwards. So. But yeah, let's see. Do they do a type of dividend that forces the share counts? Yeah, so here's the thing, right? So Aterian, I did ask investor relations about this once, and I said, have you guys considered, all these different things? Obviously, there's, Overstock that issued a digital dividend, and in theory, it's good and great, but, actually pulling that off is a little bit harder than people realize. Aterian's not a huge company, and they don't have a huge legal team. They can obviously pay for some, but, that's cash that would be going out towards that, fighting something that they would just gladly drag through the court system. At this point right now, I don't know if that's the smartest use of cash. So, they have other things they can do. Sorry, I just stole my daughter's jelly bean. I'm eating it. All right. Yeah, but the digital dividends, I wouldn't worry about them so much. I don't think Aterian's going to be doing anything with those personally. I know BBBY has been saying that they're going to do it, but I've yet to see that yet. So I think they may watch somebody else try to do this and see what they can do. Yeah, so each broker has their own like FTDs, transcendence. So like, for example, say you're brokerage A, right? and you start having customers buy Aterian. And you're sitting there and you're like, oh, man. Like, let's say it's this day right here, right? So it's $4 and some change. And say you're like, okay, well, this is like a meme stock. We're not going to buy it. So the next day goes by and the price gets higher, right? Next day gets higher, and the next day gets higher. Now it's T plus 3. Now you owe shares, right? But your customer told you that they wanted to buy them here, but you didn't want to buy them there. So now it's let's say day 3, and now you're up here at like $6, $7, and you're like, I'm definitely not buying them there. What happens is you then have to go to the SEC and say, okay, we didn't deliver those shares, or whenever they do this like snapshot, they'd be like, okay, we didn't deliver those shares on that date, so therefore now we have to pay some fines for the FTDs, which are like very, very small in comparison to having to buy $4 or $5 a share higher if somebody bought like 10,000 shares or 100,000, who knows how many shares, right? So what they typically will do then is they'll wait till the stock price gets down. So now all of a sudden, if you're here on day 4 or day 5, the stock price is right where your customer bought, then you can do it there. Or you could just wait and just eat some of these FTDs until the stock's lower, like now, and then buy them then and reset them. What happened also is when the private placement stuff hit, that happened right around here. So like they got extra shares onto the market. So once those extra shares came on, they just used those to reset their FTDs. So max pain is $350 in some places, but I would say max pain is really below $350 right now. That's what they're going to aim for. So, because if a bunch of people are buying $350 calls, I would guess that they're going to try to keep it under $350. Okay, so color just denotes puts in general on Bloomberg. Any thoughts on HCDI? I'm not familiar with them offhand. HCDI. Harbor Custom Development. Let's see. 25% short, 2 million shares. Smaller float, right? No. How many? What's their float size? Okay, so only like 14.5 million shares outstanding, so small float. I mean, not a lot of institutional ownership either. So, I don't know. What excites you about them? Carl. DD, volume, DRS, and patience. Did he over the 8K yet? No, not really. I mean, I haven't had time to read it, to be honest with you, Big Lebowski. What I basically being told is it looks like they're going to be able to basically pass things whenever they want to. So without having to go through the board or the majority of shareholders. It's a dual-edged sword. I mean, let's be honest about that. Get more of my daughter's jelly beans. It's going to be one of those things where if you think about, could they issue a buyback? Sure. Could they also issue an ATM easier? Sure. So we'll see. DTC. Yeah. Let's do that. I'll go over Black Sky. Is it Black Sky, I think, Tom? All right. Z22. Can you please describe how the price rose in April? Where did that volume come from? Was it good news? Was institutions short selling? Okay. So this right here happened from nothing. There was no catalyst. This was just literally retail peaking in interest, and unfortunately it ran into the market crashing while it was squeezing, which is a bummer. And then once we had that huge options chain, Gamma Ramp was all set up, and there was just no volume because everyone had already used all their money. All right, so this though, right, happened literally on no absolute news. Like there was no huge catalyst. There was no, like it just there was some DD that came out, and then people started talking about it, and then it kind of came back for like a run, and then some of the reason why this also happened was the short interest jumped up because of the private placement. They realized that the shares were actually locked up. They also understood that the warrants were there. So don't eat the black jelly beans; they're disgusting. You would laugh right now because this entire bag is almost all black jelly beans sitting there at the bottom because no one's eating them. And I'm not going to eat them either because they are gross. All right. But yeah, Z22, the volume came out of nowhere, basically just from a DD perhaps that I wrote or somebody else wrote, and people were taking interest in the stock again. So it can happen again. Because there was a huge major thing that happened, then yeah, like there wasn't. There was absolutely no news, and then it just absolutely ran up and got all of a sudden billions of volume since then. So kind of crazy. So we need to go over DTC, and we need to go over. I think they actually wanted the short. I think the shorts wanted ATER to fail on goodwill, so they suppressed all the short all month, and then April run was due to the spring getting too tight and had to be unwound. That's probably true. They were basically pushing down on the stock to make sure that ATER looked worse on the earnings. So don't sell yourself short. Your DD got major traction at that time. Yeah, it got a little bit. But it was mainly because I don't think retail understood the warrants. Like, that's a big deal. Like, warrants are a big deal, and that you should understand what those are. If you don't understand what those are, then you should join the Discord and you should learn. Because, like, straight up, like warrants, like notes convertible, these are all important things that you need to know, especially when you're dealing with small caps or like mid caps. So... But yeah, let's go over DTC real quick, and then we can go over Black Sky. Oh, that's just DTC. All right, so somebody said this looks like a ski jump, and it kind of does, right? So we started out here; it was just completely falling. It's a falling knife, and no one wanted to touch it, right? And then it got really oversold right here. And then what's happened since then? Right, we just whoop. RSI is going up. We're starting to break out of this channel, right? So if we drew some lines, we're coming up and trying to break through the top of that channel. I mean, it looks like it's got some strength behind it. And the reason why I say that is because despite how the stock's actually trading, if you look at the... let me see if I can find the inflow. Does anyone have inflow? And someone said ATER ended with a bull flag before after hours. Is that true? Let me just look. I don't think so, but I think they were talking about the SPY, but then it fell apart, if I remember correctly. But let's just pull up on the 5-minute. No, there's no bull flag there. I think they were talking about the SPY. What's up, Puzzle? Yeah, like a bull flag would have been basically, like if you had a thing run up like this and then it came out like this, that's a bull flag. I don't see any bull flag. I mean, maybe they were looking at the 1 minute. Let me take a look at the 1 minute. I mean, they had a spike up after, but that was after hours. I don't see any sort of bull flag. I think they were talking about the SPY, because I think at some point the SPY, if we went to the SPY, I think it was, that's SP, and the SPY. I'll do it here. Yeah, I think at one point, let me see if I can see it on the 5 minute. I think someone said at this point right here, it was like, yeah, that was weird. We're really far out, huh? There we go. You know, I could kind of see that and then break down. But, I mean, if you were looking at the 5 minute, I guess the closest thing would be like this run right here and then a consolidation. But it broke down at the end, so it's not really I don't know who called out a bull flag, but it was not one. All right. So with DTC, what we're kind of learning right now, and we've created a spreadsheet for this. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see. Where did I put the spreadsheets? Here. Right. We haven't finished going through all this stuff. I basically took the copy of my Aterian one. But what we're trying to break down right now is the shares outstanding for Class A and Class B, and we're trying to figure out what the float's going to be. We haven't added in the institutions, but what we found was interesting was, I don't know if, did I save my, I can probably pull up my DD, because I have some screenshots of information that we need. Man. People, you know, like, all right. I just glanced at Reddit, and I mean, like, the amount of, like, people who, like, listen, Ethereum's down. It doesn't feel great, but at the same time, like, this is investing. Like, it's not instantly going to turn around. Like, we bled out way worse in the last, run. And it went on for longer than this. And, like, it was like, okay, so people got a glimpse of hope, and then they've now, like, lost it even worse this time than when it went down for, like, 6 months straight. Like, it's, you've been on this roller coaster, you've been here before, like, it will be okay. People are acting like they just announced that they were going to close the stock and, like, delist. Like, it's not that. Like, all right. So, I think I showed you guys this before, but I'll just cover it real quick for anyone that's new or hasn't seen this before. It started when Big Lebowski wrote me and was like, how does a stock end up with 430% short interest? And I'm like, well, that can't happen, because based off the new rules, they shouldn't have stuff like this happen anymore. So I was like, all right, that's interesting. So I pulled up this, and I'm like, well, it would have to do with the float then. And sure enough, I looked at shares outstanding, about 63 million. It's like the same size as Aterian, roughly. I think Aterian's like 63, 64. So they're about the same size float. But they're reporting institutional shares long at 86 million, which is more than 100% of the float. So I was like, that is strange. So I'm like, that's a difference of 22 million shares. Like, that can't be right. So I looked up on institutional ownership on Morningstar, and I came up with 78.7 million. I'm like, okay. And then you go over here to the institutional ETFs and mutual funds that own it, and there's about 11.2 million that are not overlapping between these two. I'm like, okay, so that makes almost 90 million shares of institutional ownership on a stock that has 63 million shares outstanding. And even like Bloomberg was reporting it more shares out than exist. So I'm like, none of this stuff looks right. So what happened was we started deep diving, and Big Lebowski was like, okay, let's take a look. And he figured out that there's Class A and Class B shares, and according to the 10Q. And so we put that down on the paper, and that's what I think I showed you guys here, which was, where is it? Oh, that one's Aterian. Hold on. I need this one. All right, so we have the Class A shares here according to the 10Q. And then we've got Class B shares here. And anyone that wants to know the difference between the two, basically what you're looking at is you've got Class A's, which are normal commons that most people hold. Class B's, typically, if I remember correctly, just offhand, I think you get paid first, but you don't have voting rights. Class A shares represent voting rights. Class B shares, you don't have voting rights, but you get paid first in a liquidity emergency. So a lot of times people have B's and they might convert them to A's eventually if they want like voting rights. But in the beginning, when the stock's new, they might want the B's just in case the company doesn't do well. They would get their money back sooner than the Class A's do, because everything gets paid out before Class A's. Class A's are the last ones to get paid out. Okay, so we have a float then. Like I looked at insider ownership, and there didn't seem to be that many, which is a little bit surprising. But they are new companies, so maybe I need to dig it a little deeper. And if anyone wants to do that, you're more than welcome to. Yeah, I'm going to cover a couple things, Matt. I can cover. Can you explain the lack of jelly beans to your daughter? You're a monster. All right. So what we need to figure out now is how they ended up with this institutional. What's up, Dan? Where is it? Okay, where's the DD? Here we go. So let's just take this number just to show you guys something's weird, right? So here is when you add up the Morningstar institutional ownership, right? You paste it in here. All of a sudden, the free float is negative 27. Like, obviously that's not right. So it's like, okay, so obviously they had these what was the one, where is it at? The name of the company was Summit. Summit has 44 million shares, right? And they were issued Class B, but now they're being listed as A, but at the same time, only 14 million of them were able to be converted from B to A. So there's like a whole bunch of stuff that's going on, and I kind of understanding now why the institutions are having such a hard time figuring out what's going on here, because what it looks like is these guys somehow ended up with more shares out there than exist. And now they're trying desperately to not like let everybody know that. And so it's becoming this kind of like, no, there's nothing to see here. And if you look at like Fintel or Ortex now, there's still weird stuff going on. So like, this is still what's listed right now for Fintel. Like as of this second right now, if you pull it up, they're still listing institutional ownership at 86 million when the shares outstanding are 63. But they're saying that there's only like 20% short interest. And it's like, okay, so which is it? You know, because obviously this doesn't add up. Like, you can't have negative 27 million float. So even if you added these together, right? And this is not even including like retail. Like, retail is just starting to get into this stock. So this is like, if you look, like, there's not a lot of volume, and retail typically will start once retail gets into things and FOMOs a little bit. That's when the volume picks up, and then the short interest will probably start picking up, and then like that's when things get interesting. There's only 3 million shares shorted on this stock, which is not that much. But when you think about, okay, if the float is non-existent because they're going to have liquidity problems because they owe more shares than they actually have. And so what I think is going to end up happening is this was the spring, and now you're basically having this kind of like, this was the day that everyone got excited, and then since then it's kind of just been chopping around, right? And I think it's just going to consolidate. They're trying to keep it under 5. That's their goal. They just keep, like, because I think this is where they want to accumulate. They wanted to accumulate down here, but somehow I think retail kind of caught on and now is screwing up their plans of a slow, nice accumulation, then kind of moving up. And I kind of kick myself because I'm like, when I saw this on this day right here, I think it was like 4 something, and I was like, I'm going to really quietly start adding position. I think I only bought like 50 call options, and I bought like a couple, maybe it was like 200 shares. And then the next morning I woke up and it was like 550, and I'm like, God, really? Like, this is not, All right, so anyway, Dan just said he posted a DD on DTC, figured out how Ortex got the free float. Hey, let's talk about it. Dan, what do you got? Let me see your DD. Let's take a look. We'll give you some free publicity. Did you post it in the DTC stock page or short squeeze? Maybe both. I'll pull it up right now. Let me go to new, see if it's in there. Nope. I don't see it there, so maybe you did it in short squeeze. Okay. Man. I don't see it. Can you send it to me in the Discord and we'll pull it up? The CEO just apparently bought 90,000 shares also of DTC. Just so you guys are aware. So, John Maris, Director, President, CEO, on May 27th, executed a purchase for 90,000 shares worth about 439 million, or sorry, 439K, following a Form 4 with SEC. He has now control of 118,000 shares. That's really not that much for a CEO, I would have thought. Because I think he's a CEO founder, but I'll have to do more research into that. But yeah. So yeah, he exercised his right to more shares. So that's a good thing for him. Because I think his stock's going to go up. Okay. Or is it from a salesman? Is that your thing, Dan? All right. So let's take a look at this real quick. So these are all purchase. So insiders are buying this stock. So that's usually a good sign. No, Russian ice cream. Yeah, just link it to me on Discord so I can just pull it up. And on your comparison, routing your orders from your broker to IEX and not routing to IEX, do shares actually hit the market using IEX? So it really depends on your broker. So obviously if you're using like TD Ameritrade, like I'm able to usually go back and take a look on the tape and see if my shares actually hit the lit exchange. And they don't always, I'll be honest with you. There are days where I put in weird numbers and I never saw anything. So we'll see. But I it's better than just routing through your normal brokerage who's just going to automatically put them in a dark pool or off exchange and then wash out those sales. So, okay. So anyway, what we were basically just doing though is I haven't gotten your link yet. You said you figured out how they got their numbers, but it looked like it was a little bit wonky from what we were looking at before. Maybe you guys made some progress while I was eating dinner. Let's see. Okay. Okay, here we go. How Ortex is it? I got it. So I'm not seeing anything there. Russian ice cream. Look at you. I see nothing in there. I'll give you an upvote, but I don't see anything. Is there supposed to be stuff in there? I just loaded it again. It's blank. All right. All right. So in the meantime, we'll just kind of explain to you. But yeah, so we're noticing some weird numbers, and I don't think that Ortex or Fintel is right. And I think they're trying to hide the fact that they've got some funky stuff going on. If anyone's interested in talking about the stock more, we have a channel inside of our Discord that we're kind of researching it all right now. And if you like digging and doing some research yourself, you can join us. And I've got a spreadsheet I just started that we're tracking all this stuff in. So let's talk about. People wanted to talk about Black Sky real quick. Anyone know who they are? I think they had a contract with Pelotar, if I can remember correctly. Black Sky, right? And they've had a nice little run. They got beaten down when they first started. They were like, it was just the IPO. It was like a SPAC, and then it kind of ran up, I think. If I remember correctly, it was like some sort of SPAC, and then it ran up early, and then it just got completely nailed down. And like, I just, when I went through this period right here, I was like, okay, like maybe I'll enter. And then it went down more, and I was like, okay, well, is this thing worthless or, we'll see. But it's had a nice little run. I think it hit its spring at $1, and now it's moving back up. The question is going to be, obviously, you've already seen the stochastic move, over. It looks like they'll attempt to pull down because it ran a little bit hot. So I think you'll probably see some either consolidation or breakdown, and then retest some of these areas that went through. But I could see them continuing up. Did they beat on earnings? Is that what happened, Tom? But I do remember like looking at these guys and being like, they've got an interesting thing. It's just they need to, Here's the earnings, and yeah, here's the earnings right here, and then it ran up from there. So, okay, let's go over Renaissance Technologies. Are you talking about the hedge fund? Yeah, Renaissance Rentec. Well, what I can tell you about them is they are very successful, and they typically only work with really, really high net worth individuals, and they are one of those kind of like almost secretive, like you don't know a bunch of them, and you just know they do well. So they bought Aterian, and it's interesting to see that they added Aterian to their list of things that they wanted to buy. I'm writing Danny. Okay. But yeah, Renaissance buying Aterian's bullish usually. Let's see. Can you cover GME? Yeah, we can cover GME real quick. So obviously they just had their earnings. And during the after hours, it was a bit choppy, but it's kind of like a mix right now, right? So let's go to the women real quick so you can kind of see what happened. So, and this is something I want to show you guys, and I actually screenshot this just so you could see. So this is where we ended the day. We basically finished around the same level, like we were like 1% up. But I thought this was a very interesting and accurate way of how it goes and gets described. All right, so this is how you know who's long and who's short. So I just clipped this from Google. And look how different people report the same exact news, right? We know that CNBC obviously has ties to a lot of hedge funds, right? I think they get money from Citadel. GameStop reports 158 million loss and decline in hardware sales. That's their headline. Did they mention they beat on revenue? No. Worst as possible, right? Ultimate FUD right there. Then you've got Barron's. GameStop earnings miss forecast. Stock doesn't know what to make of this. And that's sort of true if you look at the after hours. It went down to 114 and then right up to 135 and then back down and chopping around the 120s. And you're right. Like, so people don't know what to do with this information, because I listened to the call when I was driving home, and essentially what they said was that they're going to focus on, and they're not answering questions. They're not going to provide guidance. They're not going to do any of that stuff that people want them to do. They also didn't mention the stock split. But what they did do is they said, okay, we are going to concentrate on, growing this digital dividend out, and we want to, focus on increasing our value as basically like a technology company, which I thought was interesting. And so, look at this. Market check. Stocks gain. Meme stocks weaken against GameStop earnings. That going into earnings, Yahoo Finance. But, look at GameStop is higher after front-loading inventory, prepping for NFT. Like, this is a more accurate story. I don't like seeking alpha, but I'm just saying, like, that at least was somewhat fair. GameStop reports first quarter loss, tops revenue estimates. That's fair, Yahoo Finance. Not this thing that was 5 hours early. But, like, they did miss on, adjusted earnings per share, but they did beat on revenue. So, like, it's a mixed bag. And I'm sure tomorrow they're going to absolutely nail the stock, because that's what they do. Because most retail doesn't understand how to read a balance sheet, so therefore they just rely on the market to tell them if it was good or bad. And if you're short, you just always short after earnings, because a lot of times you'll run it up just so you can slam it down to strike the tree harder. All right, so I just want to show you guys that. But like, here's the thing: like, there were some improvements that were good on GameStop's thing, and so I think they're going to be able to maintain between like 90 and 120 is going to be their immediate range if they don't run up next week. The question is going to be what institutions are going to be adding after that earnings, because I think some of them are going, okay, do we go long in this company because we could be getting in on the ground floor of something big. So the question's going to be, with this ownership, who's in, who's out, what's going to see, Let's go over, let's see, GameStop real quick. Let's see if any of the major institutions have. Oh, that's because it's old GameStop, not. I was like, why is that showing 2016? Fintel has it listed all the way at the bottom, of course. They don't want to make it easy for you to get to it, even though it's probably one of the most, All right, let's look. Ownership. I don't want the chart. Give me the ownership. Okay. Institutional owners. I want to see who owns them right now. Yeah, so like RC Ventures owns about 9 million shares. Maverick Capital, Susquehanna, Vanguard, Semvest. They're the ones in New York that bet on GameStop last time. Dimensional Fund Advisors and BlackRock. Let's see who owns most of the shares. So Vanguard, Susquehanna, BlackRock. Susquehanna has a put. Citadel has calls and puts. Jane Street, calls and puts. Simplex Trading, 2 million shares. Vanguard total stock. I wonder if, let's see. Let's do a control F real quick. I know you guys can't see this yet. Renaissance does own some shares of GameStop still. Not a ton, though. But they did add a small amount. Looks like they added... What column is that? $300,000 shares, roughly, something like that. So, Class Bs can have larger voting rights. It depends on how they're defined in the IPO. Yeah, I mean, I've seen it both ways, Nathan. But yeah, that's a good point. I shouldn't say they always have no voting rights. It just depends on how it's defined. All right. I think they oversell every stock, self-reported, and nobody watches. That's possible. All right, the market seems to be tanking. It looks like it's getting worse. So ATER won't have a good run anytime soon. I mean, it actually can go the other way. So, for example, when GameStop was running last time, right? When GameStop hit, let me go switch to a daily view. When GameStop was running last time, when it was up here, the stock market was tanking. And it was tanking because those shorts needed liquidity, so they were selling off all their long assets to provide that liquidity. If GameStop or AMC or somebody big goes and starts margin calling shorts, Aterian could actually be in that same boat where once, because you notice around the same time frame when these were screaming up, look at the other stocks that were all, look at this, they're all screaming up in the same day. None of these stocks have anything to do with each other, right? Except they're all being hugely shorted by the same companies. So Aterian could be in the same boat where, we actually run up when, I'm just curious, did BBBY do anything back in January of, no, it didn't do anything. But what was the other ones? Nokia, they also had that nice spike around the same time frame. So it doesn't, it can also be the opposite, where because the market's tanking because meme stocks are running. So you don't always have to associate with the market with what Aterian's going to do or any of these meme stocks. They tend to kind of beat to their own drum. In the Discord under technical analysis, Booksy shared that we should see a pop to 550. Any thoughts? Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I told you the MACD's crossing over on Aterian. So, like, if you zoom out, if you look at our MACD right here, the MACD's crossing over right here, and we should be able to see some upwards price movement. We're just getting nailed down right now currently because the whole market's tanking, but we'll see. All right. MLTLP was a weird chart today. Wait, Tilray or... What am I looking at? Is this the right thing? MMTLP. What is this, a penny stock? No, it's 40. What is going on here? It's barcoding. Why is a $40 stock barcoding? What is going on here? I feel like just went down like a rabbit hole. What is this? Did you just send me down a rabbit hole, Greg? Greg, now I'm going to be curious, and I'm going to end up having to research this, aren't I? No, this is a cash manager? What did you send me on? I can't even pull up the data. Yeah, I can't even open it. All right. All right, so Luxner says, figured out they don't include holders under 10% as locked up float. So for the first time, there are funds that own the float because many own. How do you not include holders under 10%? What? When did they change that? Any news on how short interest dropped so much with Aterian? Yeah, like I covered it before. It's the private placement stuff. Reset a bunch of FTDs, and right now we have like very low volume. So for ATER technical analysis books. You shared a screenshot that has moving up to 550 soon. Thoughts? Seeing how the market looks lately, it's hard to imagine such a nice move to the upside. I mean, Booksy's got his magic fractal stuff going on over there, and he's a smart dude. So, I mean, I showed you guys. I think the MACD is going to cross over, and we're going to see a move next week. So, that's just mine. Also holding Redbox and saw the 65% of the free float failed to deliver as of May. So Redbox, just be careful with Redbox. Once again, there are warrants at 11. You need to be careful and make sure you're out of there before 11 hits. Because once 11, I think the warrants are like 1150 or something like that. But wherever they are, you can see a move up that high again, but it's going to dump right on your lap once it does. Because they'll unlock the warrants up there, and then they'll just be able to dilute. But yeah, I mean, like, this is the wild, wild west we're in. The stock market doesn't actually enforce anything. Like, the SEC is worthless. Watch ATER hits 240 to 260. It's going to pop hard. Yeah, I mean, if it gets pushed down that low again, then yeah. And are you still accumulating Aterian at these prices? So what I've put at my goal right now on Aterian was I put out this right here as anything that dips under, because I buy typically on support lines. So 292 has been my support line where I try to load up as much as I can, and then anything below that's basically like a steal to me. So I'm trying to be very patient, and that's kind of how I've been trading. I find support lines where I think they're going to hold, and then that's where I load up. If I have to like chase a little bit tomorrow, I will, or the next day. But I'm hoping, selfishly that we get back to that level so I can add some more. And then I did take a chunk of money and I did invest in DTC just for the meantime because it looks like a reversal play at minimum. So. But yeah, I'm still accumulating both. It's just I'm trying to be patient with Aterian because I've seen it in the past where I chase something and then like if I just waited a day or two, I would have been able to get a better price on it. So we'll see. But yeah, I still have plenty of obviously shares that are sitting here in Aterian. And if I make money on DTC, I'm just going to bring it back to Aterian. So. What's funny is I keep listening to Anon talk every night, and I can't even afford to buy more shares. I mean, you can hang out in here. It doesn't matter. DTC is a go. Yeah, I think at minimum it's probably at least a reversal play. If you kind of look, it looks like it hit that spring, and then we're going to be heading up. So, you had this kind of downward price action. Hit the spring, and now it's been moving up, and now it's consolidating. And they don't want to let it go yet. But at some point they will. Yeah, but I mean, I could see Aterian making that move next week, or maybe at the end of the week. Probably next week, though. That's what I guess. So if we're sitting here in the hour, let's go to the 4 hour. I mean, really, we're just kind of chopping around. All right, so anybody want to cover anything? You want to talk about anything? Everyone good? Oh, I got an email. I'll probably talk to you guys about this later, but I got an email from Moo. Do you guys know them? You guys let me know if you know them. What on earth is the awesome oscillator? It's another momentum oscillator. But I mean, it's named the Awesome Oscillator, so therefore it's cooler than all the other oscillators. Yeah, so like, so Moo contacted me, and they were like, "These are other people who are part of our like, what they call them, ambassadors or something like that. They're from Moo Trading Platform. We've reached out to you. We've watched your YouTube videos, and we're impressed by your content. We know you have a Discord community that talks about stocks, and we're interested in maybe being partners with you." Um, so they did write, and they said, "Do you want to be part of the Moo Influencer Program?" I always said I'd be completely transparent with you guys, so I wanted to hear what you guys thought about that stuff. Yeah, I mean, so here's my deal. I'll always be transparent with you guys. So like, I'm not pushing anything. I just want to hear what you guys think, because obviously I don't trade on that platform at this point. I've never used it, so I'll probably go and take a look at it at least just to see if there's any benefits for me to like, if there's a feature that I like or something like that. But I've never actually like been on their platform and used it. But I did want to find out what you guys think about that, because I mean, and I'll tell you guys what's my position in ATER. I've got thousands of shares of Aterian at a cost basis of around 4 something. Would you say read terms of their agreement is? Yeah, so from what they said, at least on the Moo thing, it said, for me, a long and stable income. They have the best referral commission on the planet. For your subscribers and followers, they get if they deposit, they get 5 free stocks: Tesla, Amazon, up to 3,500 each, up to 17,000. Now, I'm guessing it's like a wheel or something like that. Like they have like, it's probably like how, remember when Robinhood started out and they were like giving away like stocks? Could be like that. Um, but apparently, let's see. Each account that has over $100, they reward 70 in cash. And maybe they'll get mad at me for saying this stuff, but I always said I'd be transparent with everyone, and they may pull my offer, in which case I would say, but yeah. Let's see. I may shoot myself if I hear Moo again, but you deserve the money, man. No, it's fine. Like here's the thing. Like, if everyone's against it, then I won't do it. Like, I've always said that, I would only push something that I think is worthwhile. And so I haven't even tried their stuff, so I'm not going to push it. But I just want to hear what you guys thought, because I know, what was the other one? Aries Trading or something like that was the one that contacted me first. And you guys instantly were like, no. Like, and so I just said, yeah, no to the guy. So, is Moo going to turn you into a shill, forcing you to talk about certain stocks? No, I'm always going to talk about what I want to talk about. Sounds too good to be true, giving free stocks for referrals. Yeah, I don't think they give me that. I think they give me money. But, I mean, once again, could you please elaborate on the private placement you said reset FTDs? I'm not following. Sure. So, all right, let's go back. Let me get back into the mode. But yeah, I just brought it up because they just wrote me today, and they wanted to know what I thought. And I'm like, I haven't even tried the product out, so I probably need to try the product out and just see what kind of stuff they're doing. But I'll look into payment for order flow, all that stuff. I'm sure it is. If they're giving away free stocks and all this stuff, I'm sure they're payment for order flow. I mean, technically, TD Ameritrade is payment for order flow, so, and I use them. And so is Webull and all those other ones. All right. So, we're here in this run right here, right? So around this time right here is when the private placements started to hit, right? And so what happens with the private placements? Well, our float went from, I'd probably have to go back to some of my old ED and take a look what it went from. Let's see if we can do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my post, right? And I'm going to go ahead and scroll back to, let's look at April 4th or something like that. That was 19 days ago. That was 20 days ago. So we're going to have to go way back. That's 426. I wrote way too much DD. All right, let's go back. $20. Back when I was getting banned from Short Squeeze. Memory lane, memory lane. All right, let's take a look at what's going on. Because what I want to do is I want to look at I wasn't even streaming back then, so okay, let's take a look at this. Hopefully I included numbers in this one. I didn't include numbers in that DD. Of course I didn't. Why would I pick one all the way back there that... Alright. Maybe this one. I can bring this over. You guys can watch me scroll, I guess. Alright. Oh, the good old days. Let's see. Let's see. The blah, 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 blah. The free float was 42 million. Right? And then what ended up happening was the private placements hit like a little bit after that, right? And the short interest jumped from like... Here, let's see. Short interest was 31%, 35% on Ortex. And then... when did they get... Alright, blah, 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 blah. Where is it? Okay. So, it looks like... I just want to see, did they have So the current free float was 26 million, 28 million shares, depending on who you ask. Our current free float right now is 30 million, so it's not that much different. The only thing that changed, though, was, let's see, that was aggregate short volume. Hold on. Da, 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 da. Where is... I need to do a better job in the future. Someone remind me of this. To actually write my numbers out. Because, like, it shouldn't take me this long to actually find... shares outstanding, and it's taking me that long. I think this is the same DD. I just posted it twice. Let's see. Squeeze score. Okay. Man, I am struggling to find the old float. Anyone have it offhand? Yeah, Chris, there's no, I'm just reading through some of the chat. Chris, there's no way the warrants are, you can actually type in their 10Q and search the word warrant. There's nothing except for the warranties that are mentioned there. So, yeah, Zip Trader pushes Moo. Yeah, he was listed as one of the, like, the reps. You know, I'm like, okay, well, you know, just... I mean, there are some big names that push Moo, so I wasn't sure. But, you know, I'm not going to do it unless you know, I'll pose the question to the entire Discord, but if you guys don't think I should do it, then I won't do it. Ben has PTSD. Oh, that's about the TNXP. Yeah, I don't know anything about that one. Yeah, but DTC does not have any warrants that I saw. All right, so let me try to explain this without the old shares outstanding. So we basically added like 6 million shares or something like that, or between pre-funded stocks that were through Armistice Capital. I think I said it right that time. And they had common shares as well. So they now own the largest portion, and I can show you on, I think, one of these, if I have it up here. Where is, that's DTC. Here. Okay, so check this out, right? If we go to institutional ownership, right? these guys now have the most shares, right? But they didn't as of the last filing. And how they got these shares was this is the guys that gave Aterian the money for the private placement. So they got their shares at an average price of about 305 between pre-funded ones and the Class A's. So they got themselves an extra I think they actually got more than that. I think they got 5 or 6 million. So those shares got added all of a sudden, right, to the shares outstanding, raised, and also basically these are new shares that got put onto the market. Now these 5 million new shares came out of nowhere and basically allowed, they lent them out. So as soon as they lent them out, that allows all the people that were short and that were stuck with FTDs, like the brokers, it allowed them to purchase these shares or borrow those shares. We won't know until, obviously later on to see if they sold them or if they just lent them out. But they lent them out. They're able to reset their own FTDs with those shares. It's like a game of kick the can. Like, you just push it down the road, and then hopefully, later on that you can buy shares back, and you get retail shaken out, and so you start buying some shares back then. Hopefully that answers the question. But if you look through, we can see, Renaissance added 1.7 million shares at an average of 305. That's pretty good. So would it shock me now? If, I don't think if we get below $3, it lasts very long without, some of these guys who are going long to add more. So that's why I think every time we've dipped down, we keep getting pushed back up. That 305 level, here we got pushed down to what, 280 and then pushed right back up. We dip down. If we hit down here, it'll probably just get pushed right back up. But it all depends on, how much they can shake the tree. They can get people out down at the bottom. That's their goal. So, all right. We're at 11 o'clock. Anyone else have any questions, or is everyone good? Ben was under the impressions the shares were locked up September private placement. So the private placement was broken up into two sections. The private placement has 7 million shares of warrants, basically, for Armis Capital, right? But they also were given shares in common share form and also pre-funded forms that they were able to exercise when they wanted to. The ones that were locked up were the 7 million shares at, I think, 310. So those ones are still locked up until September 6th, but they had these other ones that were part of the pre-funded and common share deal. So they did basically a two-part thing where they got some of their shares up front that they were allowed to basically, get whenever they wanted, and then they also had the 7 million in warrants that can't be touched until September 6th. So you're partly right, because they took some of the shares up front, but then they didn't add all of them until the stock was already up higher, and then they basically knew that they were going to be able to bail out some people probably, and so they were going to get high borrow fees when they lent out those shares. So, all right. Anyone else have any questions, or everyone good? Oh, yeah. Tom, remind me. I'll get with you tomorrow, and I'll go over some of the Black Sky stuff with you. We can do that if Tom's still with us. But I was going to say I'm going to have to get to bed tonight. I woke up late, so. Wouldn't they need to sell some to close out, though? Would they need to sell some? Okay, you're still here. Yeah, let me just see. Let's just make sure there's nothing let's do this real quick. Black Sky. All right. Black Sky's got a decent amount of money. They've got about 133 million in cash. They only burn about 12 million. Let's see. They do have warrants. They've got September 2021 SPAC warrants. Their exercise price, though, is at $11.50. They also have... So they have a couple sets of these warrants at different strike prices. But both, they got two, basically like 19 million, maybe 20 million shares at $11.50. And they also have another 4 million at $20 a share. So at some point, I would imagine they would like to probably get those unlocked. So we may see Black Sky at some point pump to minimum $11, especially based off their price right now. And they do have a decent amount of cash, so, but it may not be a rush for them. All right, so Black Sky, 7 days. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they got awarded a 10-year electro-optical commercial layer contract with the government. I think they've also gotten... Yeah. All right. Yeah, so there are some warrants at $11.50, but for the most part, if you got in a couple days ago, that's good stuff. I need to probably find an entry point for that one because I do think it will run up to at least the warrants at some point. Maybe not in this market, but we'll see because they do have some, it sounds like good things going on. Wouldn't they need to sell some to close out, though? So it depends on what they want to do. Like, they've got a low average price for those shares, so they're going to be profitable pretty much any time. Like, they got those right now. So, like, they probably would want to do it two ways. They would try to raise as much... how do I put this? They would want to raise the price as much as possible to probably exit. And they're going to try to basically maintain an ownership around 9.99%. So we have to figure out what the math on that is. So they will at some point probably sell some of those shares if they want to maintain that, or they can go over that if they think their stock can turn around. But you get a little bit different rules when you go over 10% ownership of a stock. So I'm thinking, so it went down because someone sold to cover. No, so they would buy to cover. You would have to buy shares to cover. The stock pricing, like, so just so you guys know, like, the stock price can go down for many different reasons. It doesn't necessarily mean that retail's all getting out or institutions are all getting out. I think you saw as of the last filing. The problem with this is it's super not like, it's not transparent. Like, retail's always getting information like weeks after things have happened. But I'm sure there was some selling pressure in here from some institutions, but at the same time, and there was probably some retail that bailed during this time or here, or even here. Like, it all depends on where someone's comfort level is. But what I can tell you is a lot of this, based off of like the money flow and the OBV, looks like it does not see a huge amount of sell off overall. So if an institution was getting out in a large way, you would see this dipping more than it is. Yeah, I'm getting tired. I'm probably not even making sense anymore. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out. I'll do my normal thing where I'd link the Discord. If you're not part of the Discord, please join us. It's free. We have a good time there. All right, here we go. There we go. And then I do have a Patreon that, no one's required to donate, but, the goal was eventually going to be trying to get me to be a full-time streamer. So I will link it. You don't have to donate, but they are welcome. Okay, there you guys go. And have a great night, everyone, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.